There was a time when car culture was simple. You loved cars because they made you feel something. You modified your car not to impress strangers, but because you wanted it to drive differently, sound different, feel more like yours. You went to meets because you wanted to talk to people who understood why you cared about things that didn't matter to anyone else. Then something changed. Slowly, quietly, without anyone really noticing. The culture stopped being about the cars and started being about the image, about being seen with the right cars, building the right aesthetic, curating the right vibe, about followers and features and fitting into whatever car culture looks like this week. We turned passion into status, and in the process, we lost what made it feel real in the first place. Chapter 1. When the audience became the point. It used to be that you'd work on your car in the garage, drive it on weekends, maybe show it to friends who actually cared. The enjoyment came from the doing, from the work, the driving, the experience of having something you built or improved yourself. Now, the work isn't finished until it's posted. The drive doesn't count unless it's documented. The car itself becomes secondary to the content it generates. You're not building a car anymore. You're building a brand. You start making decisions based on what photographs well instead of what drives well. You choose modifications because they're trending, not because they improve the experience. You prioritize aesthetic over function because aesthetic gets engagement, and engagement validates the effort. The car stops being something you do for yourself and becomes something you perform for others. Every choice filtered through the question, how will this look to the audience? Will people understand why I did this? Will it get the recognition it deserves? And somewhere in that shift, the private joy of working on cars, of driving them, of loving them for what they are rather than what they represent, that starts to fade. Because once you're performing passion, you're not really feeling it anymore. Chapter 2. The hierarchy of authenticity. Car culture developed its own class system, not based on the cars themselves, but on perceived authenticity. There are the real enthusiasts with the right cars making the proper modifications. And then there's everyone else, trying to prove they belong. People started gatekeeping passion. Your car isn't old enough. Your build isn't clean enough. Your taste isn't refined enough. Your knowledge isn't deep enough. You're trying too hard, or not trying hard enough, or trying in the wrong way. The community that was supposed to unite people who loved cars became a competition to prove who loves them more authentically, who has better taste, who's more dedicated, who's earned the right to be taken seriously. And the irony is, the people policing authenticity are often the ones performing it most desperately, the ones who need external validation that their choices, their cars, their version of enthusiasm is the correct one. The gatekeeping isn't about protecting the culture, it's about protecting status within it. Chapter 3. The commodification of cool. Everything became a calculation. You don't just buy a car anymore, you buy into a scene, an aesthetic, a predetermined package of what that car culture looks like. The stance scene has its formula. The JDM scene has its rules. The Euro scene has its aesthetic. Choose your lane and follow the template. Companies figured this out fast. They started selling you the image of car culture, the right stickers, the right wheels, the right lifestyle brand collaborations. Buy these products and you'll look like you belong. Purchase authenticity in convenient monthly payments. Car culture became consumable, prepackaged, franchised. You don't have to develop your own taste or make your own choices. Just follow the influencers, copy the builds that get engagement, buy from the brands that sponsor the right people. Instant credibility, minimal actual passion required. And we bought it, literally, because somewhere along the way, we started believing that looking like a car enthusiast was the same as being one, that owning the right things was equivalent to feeling the right things. That status within the culture was the culture. Chapter 4, What We Lost in Translation. In chasing status, we lost curiosity. We stopped experimenting, stopped trying weird things, stopped making choices that might look wrong to other people. We optimized for acceptance instead of expression, for approval instead of authenticity. We lost the diversity that made car culture interesting. When everyone's building for the algorithm, building for the audience, building for status, everything starts looking the same. Same wheels, same stance, same modifications, just on different chassis. The individuality that used to define modified cars got replaced by conformity to whatever's currently considered correct. We lost the joy of the process. Working on your car used to be its own reward. Now it's just the content creation phase. The build isn't finished when the car runs well or drives better. It's finished when the shoot is done and the post goes live. The work becomes a means to an end. The end being validation from strangers. Most importantly, we lost the connection, the reason most of us got into cars in the first place. That feeling of building something yourself, improving something with your own hands, understanding a machine deeply enough to make it yours. That got buried under layers of performance, presentation, and the endless pursuit of proving something to someone. Chapter 5, The Way Back. So how do we fix it? How do we reclaim passion from status, authenticity from performance, culture from content? Maybe we start by asking ourselves why we're really doing this. Not what we tell other people, but what we tell ourselves in quiet moments. Are we building this car because it excites us, or because we think it'll excite other people? Are we making choices that serve the driving experience, or choices that serve the image? Maybe we stop documenting everything. Take a drive without posting about it. Work on the car without filming it. Let some experiences exist only in your memory, unshared, unvalidated by anyone except yourself. Remember what it felt like when the enjoyment was the reward, not the recognition. Maybe we stop judging. Let people love cars in whatever way makes sense to them, even if it's different from our way. Stop gatekeeping, stop ranking, stop creating hierarchies of authenticity. The kid with the modified Civic is as valid as the guy with the vintage Porsche. Different paths, same passion. Maybe we build weird cars again. Cars that don't fit neatly into scenes, that can't be easily categorized, that prioritize personal expression over popular acceptance. Cars that make other people scratch their heads but make us smile every time we see them. The status version of car culture will always exist. There will always be people more interested in the image than the experience, more focused on the audience than the automotive. And that's fine. They're not the problem. The problem is when we let that version become the default, when we start believing that's what car culture is supposed to be, when we forget that underneath all the content and clout and carefully curated aesthetics, this was always supposed to be about something simpler. It was supposed to be about loving cars, not loving what cars say about us, but loving what cars are. Loving the sound, the feel, the experience of machines built to move us, literally and figuratively. Loving the process of understanding them, improving them, connecting with them. We turn passion into status, but we can turn it back. One honest build at a time. One drive taken for no reason except the drive itself. One choice made because it feels right instead of because it looks right. The real car culture still exists. It's just quieter now, less visible, happening in garages instead of on grids, on back roads instead of in parking lots. It's still there, waiting for anyone willing to stop performing and start feeling again.